Super excited for today's panel. It is titled The Experience Economy. It is all about creating incredible client experiences and turning that into future business. Got three incredible agents with us, Lee Rindskopf, Heather Price, Mandi Montgomery. I'm going to have you guys go one by one and introduce yourselves, give people a little bit of background, and then we'll jump into the questions. Mandi, you want to go first?
Okay, I'm Mandi Montgomery. I was licensed in 2018. I'm with Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan, co-founder of the Lately Group out of Hudson. Happy to be here.
Ballpark, like production.
On goal this year to probably do 10 million-ish, maybe a little more, hopefully.
Love it. Heather?
Hi, I'm Heather Price. I'm with Howard Hanna in the Chagrin Falls office. Licensed, I think I know about half the people in here. So I look forward to meeting the rest of you. Been licensed since 2010, so 16 years. Lived in Cleveland, Northeast Ohio all my life. So have a good, from the west side to the east side, I was actually allowed to cross the river. So that's helpful. What else do you want to know?
Ballpark, production.
Last couple years, 20 plus million.
And Lee, how about for you?
Hey guys, I'm Lee Rindskopf. I started the Lee & Company Home Group real estate team about 6 years ago. I'm pushing 10 years in the industry. I grew up in a family of realtors. My mom, Susie Leparo, and my sister, Brittany Nitis, are here supporting me, but I also have a sister who is a realtor as well, named Chelsea Roth, and just our whole family's been in the industry, similar to the Young family, like legacy agents. And I love what I do. I feel like, I try to keep it fun. And what else? Production. I think I've closed 11 million so far this year. So last year, I think we did 17 or 18 off the top, something like that. So we'll see if I can push 20 this year.
Love it. So as you guys can tell, all three, great experience, great production. So excited to hear what you guys have to talk about with the client experience. Lee, we'll start with you. What do your clients actually tell other people about working with you? Not what you hope they say, what they actually say.
So I think one of the things that people do say about me is that I keep it fun. I also I'm sort of known for my communication. I get a lot of referral-based business, and through that business, what people tell me that they were told about why they should call me is that I'm super lightning fast with my responses, and just in general, try to make sure that I'm one step ahead of anticipating their questions.
It's amazing. Heather, what about for you?
You stole my answer.
She hears about how Lee is lightning fast.
Yeah. I'm like, I was thinking, because I, of course, read the questions ahead of time, and then I'm like, Josh is going to ask us these questions, and we're all going to just answer whatever the heck we want. Pretty much. But, I do think, I always look at it from the perspective of putting myself in my client's shoes. What do they need? Everyone is different. So I think, looking at some of my reviews and what clients say is, communication is key, but also, communicating what needs to be communicated. It's not, I've told my clients, and my job isn't to blow sunshine up your skirt, right? Yeah. My job is to lay things out for you, tell you how it is, and you have to make the decision. And also not to speak for you. So, what do you want, and how can I best represent you? So,
yeah. Communication 100%. I think that's why people work with people they like, is because they're communicating. But I was going to say honesty is a huge thing. I'm not a big salesperson, I say. I'm the least salesy salesperson. I'm there to provide them the facts and show them everything that they will want to know and inform them. And I think that's huge, of just empowering them and bringing them the knowledge that they might not have.
So one of the things I love about doing these panels is you will get to hear throughout the hour, what are the things that the three of them all have in common? And then what are the things that are different, right? You all mentioned communication. Both of you guys talked about honesty. It's like, I'm sure we'll see some underlying themes and then some uniquenesses between each of you. All right, Mandi, think of a client who raved about you and maybe one who didn't rave about you. What was the specific moment in each transaction where their opinion got decided?
So I was really trying to think about this, and on the way here, I was talking to my husband, and it goes back to the communication. I lost a client who I was friends with their entire family since childhood, and it was lost on communication of we'd seen multiple houses, we'd written offers, they lost them to cash offers or people going $80,000 above list price. And because we get so caught up in like, we do this every day, we're on to the next one, let's find the next house for you, let's keep it going. I didn't take the time to step back and say and explain what actually happened and how we could change that. I might have said it just real briefly, but I didn't take the time to explain it and understand their emotions behind losing out on those houses. So yeah, I think communication is like throughout the whole process, especially in those hard times for clients.
Love it. Heather, what about for you?
Well, in every transaction, there's always a point, right? There's always that like, the sandpaper's grinding against you. Now, you don't know where it's going to be, and you have to be ready for it and have that. And I try to set that expectation ahead of time. Like, we're new best friends for the next however long it takes to find you your house and or sell your house or what have you. So there's always that point where, they might get information they don't want to hear, or you call and you're like, all right, this is the moment where, and sometimes, clients don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen to what you have to say, and they don't want to hear the reality of the situation. And I don't lose too many clients. I always say I market deep. I don't market wide. I don't do a lot of broad marketing. My clients come back to me, transaction, refer clients to me. So that's really how I built my business on customer service. But, I also say to them, you hired me for my expertise and my opinion, so you're going to get it whether you like it or not. Yeah. So, and sometimes they don't like it, and that's okay. There's a lid for every pot out there. And sometimes you're not I've had to say a couple times I've had to fire clients a couple times, like, I just don't think we're a fit. It's like, I don't know what else to do for you to help you get to your goals. So someone else might be better at that. So Godspeed. Go forth and come.
Very well said. To throw my 2 cents in that, I also feel like I don't lose a lot of clients. I think the greater challenge is just getting myself in front of people who are positioning themselves to do real estate. I think once we connect, for the most part, we become connected. But, certainly we've all lost clients occasionally. And for me, I think, to be specific about the question, when they've gone quiet, sometimes we tell them what their house is worth, and then maybe they don't love hearing that reality. I would say that's been a pain point. I really am trying to make sure that, just because I want a listing, I'm not going to accept a listing that's unrealistic, not going to sell, that sort of thing. So I think that is a pain point in all of our businesses that I feel sometimes.
Yeah. Makes total sense. So this has started already creeping into the conversation. What do you tell a client to expect at the very start? And what have you learned about setting expectations that you didn't maybe in the beginning of your career?
I feel like clients enter the beginning of the process with varying levels of understanding or of expectations. So for me, I like to set a baseline. I like to make it clear that I have systems.
Percy likes me. I have 2 dogs.
I'm getting
We're all
jealous.
dog people up
Yeah,
here. My dog is just laying on my feet. So Percy's,
I like to make it clear that I've got systems, and this isn't, a one-off thing. We have a process, and I also like to set expectations that I'm going to provide context on all discussions. Obviously our job is to recommend, and then they ultimately make the decisions on what we're acting on. But just explaining to them that I'm always going to recommend, I'm always going to provide context and hypotheticals. If we do this, this might happen. If we do this, this could happen. And, precedent-based recommendations. So, that's really, again, back to anticipating their questions. I just feel like letting them know, not only I've got you, we have a system that you're going to be going directly into. There's no steps that will be missing. At no point during our process are you going to be thinking, what's next, or where's Anna Lee, because you're prompted every step of the way as you go. And a lot of them just, I think, they're coming in with anxiety. They're hopeful about how this is going to go. They have high hopes. And so explaining that I've got you, you're in process, and this is how it's going to work, step, 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 really puts them at ease in the beginning, lets them know that they are in good hands.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think a lot of people probably think client experience about like client gifts and being fun. And you talked about some of that stuff, like the being fun and laid back at the beginning, but systems.
I mean, believe me, we have fun at showings.
They're fun systems.
That's going to make a fun Instagram clip because then you got all of that.
Right, yeah.
Heather, what about for you? Expectations, how do you set them up front?
So, I do a lot. I don't have a cookie cutter approach, really. I mean, it depends on the client, what their needs are, where they are they an out of town, are they an in town, and I guess that's what I communicate is that I'm going to customize the experience to what they need and follow their lead. Like somebody might be like, I'm coming in this weekend and I need to find a house. Okay, that's a different, structure and setup and experience than someone who's local and says, I think it's time for a bigger house. We're not sure where we want to be. So that's going to be most likely a longer period. I mean, sometimes people say they want to come in and buy in the weekend and, a year later you're still trying to find them a house. But so, you have to be able to switch gears pretty quickly and adjust client to client. So I set that. And then also just, getting back to communication that, I'm not a team, I'm me. So you get me, you talk to me, I'm going to respond to you as quickly as I can, even if it's an unpleasant conversation, and I'm a big believer in picking up the phone and having a 5-minute conversation versus, there's some people I always ask, how do you like to be communicated with, right? How do you, is text your primary, email? But especially if it's complicated or uncomfortable, I like to pick up the phone and just have a conversation. I think you can cut through so much. And, there's that expression, eat the frog, right? It's like, okay, how you wake up in the morning and you're like, you've got your to-do list going through your head and all the things. You're like, all right, which thing do I not want to do? All right, I'm doing that now so I can stop thinking about it and just, and it's, I always remind myself, my grandfather was a big fan of the saying, expectation is greater than realization, both good and bad. So, sometimes I'd be really excited about something and he's like, cool your jets, sister. Like, let's see how this is going to play out. But also for bad, sometimes you are dreading doing something and once you do it, you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I got through it. So.
Mandy, what about for you? Expectations setting?
So I think one thing that I've learned along the way is while I have expectations and they have expectations, we have to kind of come to an agreement. Like we are a team. So I make sure that they understand that your expectations are going to be met as long as they're like woven together, if you will. Because if their expectations are something that I'm not willing to do or I can't do, maybe I'm not the right match for them, or maybe we need to adjust, but making sure that we're aligned from the beginning helps with that experience in the end and making sure like the whole process is smooth for everyone. Because if you're not communicating the way that they want to be communicated with and you're texting them and they're calling people, or if they want to call and you're texting, it's just going to ruin the experience.
For sure. So let's start at the beginning. Someone signs with you. What do you do in the first 48 hours? We'll start with you, Mandy.
So I'm actually tweaking all of this right now, like revamping my whole system for that. But I do set up a call with them. They sign the buyer agency agreement. I put them in the MLS, and then I make sure that we have communication about what they're truly looking for. I send them specific homes, and I'm like, what are your thoughts on X, Y, and Z? I also say, hey, if you're going to open houses, make sure, I set all the standards for the home buying process so they know that even if I'm not with you, we are a team and we're working together.
Heather, what about for you?
Yeah,
First 48 hours.
Very similar. And again, it depends, right? How quickly you have to act or what their time frame is. But, obviously, you go through the buyer broker agreement and the consumer guide, and that kind of frames some discussion and responsibilities and some basics. And, usually if it's a buyer, you're setting them up in the
MLS.
Thank you. And the what do you call that thing?
That system we use.
Thing we use, yeah. In the MLS, but also starting. I'll say I want to start a dialogue about what you're looking for, and I want your inputs and ideas. Rather, I said you're not going to hurt my feelings, right?
Yeah.
Like just be brutally honest. Like trying to basically build that trust that everything comes from, and that's, it's a lot of repeat clients or clients that were referred from other satisfied clients. So you start off with a good basis, but it's building that and kind of, again, setting expectations that, hey, you have to trust me, I have to trust you. It's a two-way street here, that we're in this together and we're working toward the same goal.
Going off of that too, sorry to
No, of course.
Yeah.
but the honesty of knowing that it's not my house. You're not, I'm sorry, just hit the microphone. But it's not my house. You're not going to offend me if it's not the right one for you. I don't want you to hide anything from me, because it's going to make the process a lot longer for everyone and more difficult if I don't know what you truly want. So I want you to be honest with me. I want to be honest with you. If you're saying, hey, I want 4 bedrooms and this one only has 3, we need to figure out where the gap is, or
Disconnect.
the disconnect is, and what you truly want. So just being setting that as we need to be honest with each other is huge.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hanna Lee, first 48 hours, someone signs listing agreement, buyer agreement. What does that look like?
So, yeah, it depends if they're a lister or buyer. But for me, with my buyers, I have a really comprehensive first touch conversation on the phone where I'm sharing some tips and tricks. I tell them a little bit about my process. I ask them a lot about themselves, make sure they're feeling heard and listened to. And just through that first conversation, I think there's a connection made. I think integrity and trust and skills are established and displayed, and value is displayed. And they know right away that they are in good hands again. So, when it comes to listings, I have a little bit of a different first step process with them. Typically, it's pretty brief, and I want to come see it. And then, when we are together is where, that initial relationship gets more established with sellers. But either way, I think, just making sure that they're feeling heard, displaying your value, knowledge, and skills, but also making sure that, the onus is always on you to keep it about them, make them feel like they have a team, be it their agent, their lender, the title company. We're assembling your rock star team for this deal and letting them know that we've got them.
Love it. So there's 2 probably different paths of client experience. You have clients that are ready to go now. You're actively working with them. And then you have clients that have reached out at one point. They're not ready to list. They're maybe not actively looking or haven't found something for a while. What is your follow-up with someone who has been in your pipeline for a while that you're still looking to keep in touch with, even if you have no new active news for them? How do you make sure they still have a great client experience?
Market update. Hey, how are you? I haven't talked to you in a little while. Just so you know, this is what's going on lately. Oh my God, have you seen this listing? You probably saw it, but I just want to make sure you saw it because this one really made me think of you. Or, oh my God, your kid's softball game was so cute on Facebook. Connection.
Very straightforward.
Yeah.
Love it. Heather, what about for you?
Pretty much the same,
Ditto.
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what she said. It's just, touching base because and also telling them, you can reach out to me anytime, right?
Yeah.
If you're nervous or you're anxious, don't have to sleep on it. You don't have to wait. You don't have to think you're bugging me. Just, reach out. If you have a question or you're just worried or you want to know what's going on, I'm at the other end of the phone or the email or what have you, that, I'm here and, we can talk about it. Maybe it's nothing. I mean, I have a client who's, almost 90. She'll be 90 soon. And I mean, she texts me like every single day. I think, what's going on? Any updates? What should we be doing differently? What should we, and so it's like, okay, what am I going to, and I talk to her daughter a lot, we're good friends. And I'm like, all right, what do you want me to say today? Like, what are you saying today?
Is she buying?
She's selling.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
she's selling. So, and it's a property that may take a little bit longer, which we set that expectation from the get-go. But she wants to know what's new. What have you done? Have you talked to this? Have you talked to this agent? What marketing have you done? So it's depends on the client and what they want to hear, and so I just try to say like, yeah, okay, nothing going on today, or here's oh, I sent you the email or the the online statistics. Take a look at that. Yeah. So.
Taking cues from your client
Mm-hmm.
also is really key.
Yeah. I was going to say, going off of like, hey, I saw your son is in baseball or whatever. I try to, depending on the client, connect with them on social media. So then if they're not buying right now, you're still staying in touch. You can text them, congratulations on a new house, not a new house, a new job or whatever. I just saw that one of my past clients is pregnant. And so just being able to send them a gift or be in touch with them when they're not buying now or not selling, whether it's real estate related or not, I think sometimes it's more meaningful if it's not real estate related. So even if they're like, hey, we're going to buy in 3 years or buy in 2 years, staying in contact with them, saying like, I care for you as a person, not as a client, is how you create like raving reviews. I think
Relationships.
Yes, relationships.
Maybe there's some expertise in the people that are in your long-term pipeline, just texting them congratulations on the new house, and then be like, oh wait, you haven't bought yet.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump to the other side of the transaction. So you've closed somebody, they bought a home or sold a home with you. What does the first 90 days post-closing look like? Mandi, we'll start with you.
So I always do a client gift, obviously. So when I'm giving them the keys, I give them a client gift, which it's fine. But
Something
that's
systematized, different for every client, or
it's kind of systematized, but then I try to cater it towards each person, which is getting more difficult. So I'm trying to revamp that. But then I'm taking notes of things that they wanted to do in the future, and within 30 days, I'm following up, hey, I know that you wanted to do carpet, you needed a painter, blah, blah, blah. Can I provide you a contact? I'm also just following them on social media and saying, hey, like I saw that you painted whatever room, your nursery, the curtains went up. I know you were talking about that. It looks amazing. I would love to see more updates of your home. Just keeping in contact with them about what they're doing rather than like, hey, do you know anyone? So again, relationships.
Heather, what about for you? 90 days post-closing.
I mean, at keys or shortly after, right, I usually have a gift then, or I bring it over a week later or something like that, depending on what, and a chance. But also just checking in with them, like, how are you settling in? Or how did the move-in go? So there's, depending on who it is and the points, right? You might give them a key and then they're moving the next week. So just kind of, building that relationship, and it depends on what the situation is, and there's always, they're always asking for, who do you have that, can do drywall? Who do you have that can do this, or painting? And also when you're, handing off the keys, if there's something that they're thinking about, then giving them that information as you go forward and just following up on that. So, a lot of my clients, there's a lot of crossover personally, and so it's very organic to just be talking to them or come over and
Love it.
Yeah.
Annalie, what about for you?
Same, pretty much the same. I would just add to that I do some milestone check-ins. I do a 90-day anniversary message. I do a 1-year postcard. But again, it's really organic. There's friends of friends, a lot of social crossover. And I really use my social media as well to stay in touch with my clients. During the process, I share with them a list of vendors in the area. And I remind them, about that. And if we had talked about updates that they were going to be doing, I'll text them like, I'm dying to see the new kitchen. Or, just expressing my enthusiasm for what they're doing in the home and, the way that they're making it theirs, which is super, super genuine. Like, I love it. So it's really easy.
And do you do a client gift? If so, is it unique to each client or the same for every client?
Yeah, so I usually do a gift a year. So, 1 year I did those wooden oven board covers, and I was doing those for a while. I'll usually get something that I'm doing for a time period because I don't want, I've had in my time people who have bought and sold numerous times, and I'm not trying to do the same thing or not remember what I gave them or, whatever. So keeping it a little systematized, but an annual switch up is kind of the mode. And another thing I do, if you guys follow me on socials, is I do a photo shoot at their final walkthrough, and I make it feel special. Before I was a real estate agent, I was a hairdresser for over 20 years, and when social media started coming into play, when I was doing people's hair, and we would, take people at the end outside for the sun on their hair color look, I really carried that over into my real estate business. Everybody wants their rock star moment. Everybody wants to post on Facebook, we did a thing. So we take that picture and, make that moment special for them. I give them a heads up when we're heading to the final walkthrough. Hey, be photo ready. I'm going to be taking your picture. And, that makes them come dressed up for their final walkthrough. It is a celebration vibe. I take my time with their photo shoot, and, I have my big key, and, we make it a fun moment, and it's 10 minutes, and they love it. And then, obviously they are sharing, tagging, that's getting seen, and those are the posts that do go viral for people and do get a lot of whip and comments on socials. So I think that's been great. I also, when I'm posting that picture, obviously I ask them, are you cool with me posting this? This is your news, not my news. However, we should be celebrating. So I went, if they're good with that picture being posted, I love to give a little spiel about, maybe our process or what's so particularly special about the house that they selected and why. Just a little bit of color to the story, which I think really helps, everyone else that's viewing it on social media feel connection, included, and just to understand what the journey may have been like and what they ended up with, and maybe even imagine that they could do that. So, I think it all comes full circle.
I think going back to that, like explaining the situation behind a sale or a client is huge because it makes others relate to you more rather than hey, we just sold this house.
Demystifying the process. Demystifying the process is what is going to invite a fence sitter to dip their toe in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. So there's a bunch of research and data around incredible client experiences made even stronger when something goes wrong, right? So Annalie, we'll start with you. Tell us about a deal that went sideways. What did you do to make the client trust you more coming out of it going sideways than going into it?
I really was struggling to come up with an example for this question.
Okay. We can just go to Heather. Annalie's like, I've never
I'm perfect. No, I'm just kidding. If I had to say one thing, it would be an appraisal, something, and then my clients watch me fight for them and do all I can.
I think that's a great example.
Yeah.
What about for you?
Well, there's, like I said, a point in almost every transaction where something goes sideways and you have to, figure out how to solve it. And it's really just, again, being the person who has the experience and knowing how to navigate the process. And it, again, shows them sort of behind the scenes how the sausage is made, right? Because, people see, oh, I went and looked at houses, how fun. When people start in real estate, they're like, I love to look at houses. I was like, yeah, you won't.
I think you and I had one of those transactions, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yeah, yes. Josh and I, you don't know this, but we are going to be well diggers in our next life. That is going to be our next profession, because we learned more about well and water flow and how they decide if there is enough water flow, and right?
Basically, moral of the story is you can make a shit ton of money digging wells with no guarantee that you'll actually improve their water or get them water.
Yeah.
They gotta pay you anyways.
The guy shows up with a Homer bucket, a hose, and a stopwatch. Those were his tools of his trade, and comes down in the basement and he does his mojo and tells us, yeah, it's okay, but it's a little slow. Well, all right, what do you do to fix that? Well, I throw dynamite down the hole of the well, and three things could happen. Nothing could happen. It could work and produce more water, or the well could collapse and we would have to do a new one. And I look at Josh and I'm like, I want his job. That sounds way better.
And we got to pay him like $8,000 to have one of those three options.
I was like, this seems like the best job in the world. You just throw dynamite in holes and hope for the best. Yeah. We were like, we are in the wrong profession. So, yeah, it's really just, finding the people to solve the problem. I mean, back when I started, the market was tanked and I had an appraisal that was $100,000 less, so then it's what do you do? We ended up finding another lender and redoing everything and it all worked out fine. And but they were like, well, we can't make a $100,000 difference.
So what did you do?
We got another lender. Yeah.
We just had the exact thing.
We had another lender, it was an appraiser who wasn't really local to the area. And it appraised fine. Yeah, it appraised fine. Yeah, it was like, back then it was a $450 house that appraised for like $350, and we're like, this doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, there's all these comps and what have you, and so.
If you guys have questions about appraisals or want to complain about appraisers, Sean Hadley's in the back. He'll take your complaints after the Mastermind panel.
Yeah. So it's really just knowing how to solve the problem. I think again, that's how you build trust, and then they know you're the person they can count on and go to if there's a problem. And as you're presenting the situation to them, it's like, okay, we've got a problem. Here's how we can proceed. Again, like with finding a different lender, they of course have to reapply and be along for the ride. It's not something I can manage, but I can sort of help them, guide them to the process. So,
Mandi, what about for you? A deal that went sideways?
So I think one comes to mind where there was major foundation issues, and being able to provide my clients with the right contacts and the right vendors and contractors that are able to take a look and explain to them the way that they need it, because not every contractor is right for every client. They might be right for the house, but they're not right for the client. So having multiple people that can do the same thing and maybe personality-wise match. And in that specific house that I'm thinking of, the seller did not agree with our contractor, so they got their own, and then every other contractor agreed with ours. So when we were trying to negotiate, the seller said that they were going to do the foundation completely wrong and it would basically ruin the home. And standing by my clients and saying, I trust you, I want you to feel comfortable with this house. I'm fine walking away from this deal if you are. If that's what you want to do, fine. It's not about my paycheck. It's about them being comfortable in the end and showing them that it's about them. So being okay walking away after, it was a month and a half of negotiation and having contractors out and trying to balance schedules and things like that, showing up on their behalf when the clients couldn't be there. So truly just being present, having the vendors and making sure that they're being heard and feeling heard.
Yeah.
Love it. So we've been talking about an incredible client experience. Let's now turn that into referrals. What is the moment in a transaction when a client is most likely to refer you, and do you do anything with that moment? Mandi?
I think there's two parts, is when they're seeing houses and feeling like on a high of, oh my gosh, these houses are amazing. We're like getting into the experience of house shopping, and then there's after they close and they're still really excited. So those I think are the 2 points that I get most referrals, is like right after closing and when they start. And what do I do with that?
Yeah, do you actively ask them for the referrals in those times? Do you hint at it? Do you?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever asked for, outside of like when I first got started and was like, hey, I'm newly licensed. That's how I got some of my my clients, but I've never actively been like, hey, who do you have that's looking? I think it's just building that trust and that relationship, and knowing that I'm the go-to for all vendor needs, anything like after closing. If you in 2 years need a plumber, call me, because I would rather you use someone that's trusted than find someone on Google or like Hudson Roundtable or something like that. Like, don't use someone that Joe down the street used. Use someone that all my clients have used.
Gotcha. Heather, for you?
I would say, a lot of times, like especially with a listing right after closing, I've had that happen a number of times where they tell their neighbors how great their experience was, what a great job you did for them. Then the neighbor calls and says, hey, I heard, but I don't solicit it either. I just sort of, you just do a good job and let it speak for itself, basically. And,
I solicited a little. So here's what I do when I'm in showings, is when we're having the most fun. And I would say at that point, I set expectations, even during their final walkthrough, I'm going to be sending you a review request. I would love if you would do that for me. So they know that that's going to be coming. And I also, in that moment, have no problem saying, if any of your friends and family need me, I would love to help, and that's the way I phrase it. Not like I'm so thirsty for business, but just, I want to be the go-to for your crew, for your family. And that's how it ends up usually playing out. But I think word of mouth obviously is our most authentic form of advertising. And, that is something that is just going to blossom when you do a great job.
And I do think, the other side, I don't necessarily solicit it, but when someone does refer to me, I make sure, to thank them with, at least a note or a call or maybe a small token or something. Like, I really appreciate you trusting me enough to refer me to somebody else. So just showing that appreciation that they did that for you.
This year, I'm starting to do like a VIP wine tasting for people who have referred me in the past. There'll be different tiers of how many times you've referred me and things like that, just to keep that bond close.
So let's actually jump into that, because that's kind of the next question is someone that's referred you multiple people. Mm-hmm. What do you do differently for them? Either that's created the multiple people or post, you're talking about the wine. Mandi, we'll start with you since you're touching on it.
So it's not that I do something specific. I think it's just staying in contact. A lot of the people who refer me are either close friends or just people that I'm talking to regularly, whether they've only bought one house from me or never bought a house. It's just building that trust and them realizing that I have the knowledge that they want their friends or family to have on their team, if you will. If someone refers me and they like bourbon, I give them a bottle of bourbon, and just knowing what they like too, just little gifts here and there.
What are the different tiers for the wine tasting? Get you different
so I
size
haven't
cups,
do they get stickers?
No, it's not within the wine tasting. You only get one glass. You get a bottle.
Yeah, it's you get the little Dixie cup.
You
want a bigger cup?
That one.
You gotta get me somebody else.
Just to taste.
You get to take
it's like
it
Heinen's
and spit it out.
Machine. You can have 4 ounces.
Yes. But I think a wine tasting and whatever, food for one tier, maybe I don't know, a play date for other people. I don't know,
cool.
with kids. So different things like that.
Cool. Heather, what
Taylor.
about you? Someone that's referred you a lot of business.
Do I treat them different?
Yeah.
I would say
did you do
no.
something
I don't.
either to get them to refer you extra business or post?
I think you can kind of tell what spheres people have, right? There's certain people who are in a job or a social thing or what have you that are linked to other people, you can tell. I mean, I don't really do anything different. I try to, treat my clients all with the same, whether they're $100,000 or $2 million, they both get good service. And it's, because the thing that I, really when somebody says, I didn't think you'd be interested in my $300,000 house because you do all these big fancy houses. Yep. And I'm like, that's the bread and butter, friend. I want that $300,000 house. Absolutely. And, there are differences in how you market and do things for those houses, but the service, obviously, I always say that the hardest deals are the under $200,000 deals because nobody has money to fix anything and every nickel counts and those are tough. Yeah, that's where you earn your chops really with those, because you're in Cleveland Heights, there's a point of sale, escrow, there's all these different things. So, but just, again, staying in touch and keeping in with people. But there are people who have good spheres. So they're, or who are really on social media. I don't do a lot on social media. I mean, I market my properties and that. I don't really market myself too much on social media, but you know, I have a lot of friends and clients who do, so they'll, you know, put things out there and reach people and touch people and share information. I had just got a referral from a previous client who they were on a women doctor website or, you know, talk board or whatever, and she was reaching out to find a realtor, and my client said, hey, call Heather, blah blah blah, and she called me and we talked and connected, and so she's closing next week. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Annalie, what about for you?
I super 1,000,000% don't treat anyone different at all, as the other ladies have said, and you know, obviously that's really important in our industry. But I would say, just in terms of, you know, who's referring me most, it's definitely going to be my sphere. It's definitely going to be people that I'm communicating with daily. But I think for me, I have a lot of repeat clients as well. And I think, you know, the way you were hinting, Heather, at like a niche, I think sometimes there's niches that people can kind of like clock into that, you know, maybe you're into, like I love motorcycles, I ride motorcycles. So, you know, I've gotten a lot of business from that avenue, or, you know, past, as I said, I was a hairdresser, past clients from my hair business really have been some of my biggest supporters since I got into the industry. But I think expressing our genuine joy for what we're doing is just going to sort of be ripples in the pond, and I think that it's really received by the public and by our sphere and by our friends and family. And that genuine joy there, I think, is something that they can't help but suggest. You know, they know that you're passionate. They know that, you know, if so-and-so that matters to them is looking for help, they know the only person they would let them talk to is you. So be that person.
Love
And
it.
I think it's being genuine about who you are too, and being true to yourself, not trying to be someone else and acting like you know something if you don't know something. Like being okay with that.
Love it. So you don't get to 10 to 20 million in annual volume just working with one client at a time. How do you make the clients you are working with feel like they're your only client, or that they're not splitting you with a bunch of other people?
Well, I actually, believe it or not, have had clients who like didn't realize they weren't my only client, which I was like, bro, of course.
Yeah.
But I do think I have, for that example, potentially excelled at making them feel that way. Just really making sure that I'm checking in frequently. I moved recently, which was just a great refresher on the emotional state that our clients go through. And I think it's such a valuable thing to have had, you know, a recent example for myself, just to remember, like, they are worried, they are anxious, or they're excited, or, you know, they're thinking 10 steps ahead, or wherever they are in the process, just making sure that they're feeling really held. And you know, and I also tell my clients, like, anytime, any place, if you are worried, if you're thinking of something, I'm there for you. I even tell my clients, you know, when I'm sleeping, my phone is on Do Not Disturb. Otherwise, it's fair game. I want them to understand that they have someone at all times who is, you know, right there with them in the trenches.
Heather, how do you make them feel like they're your
Yeah,
only
same.
client?
Just being responsive to people and responding quickly. And, you know, even though sometimes you want to say, like, look, I've got 20 balls in the air right now, right? Like, you just bite your tongue and listen and, you know, meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Andy?
I think really understanding them and their emotions and what they need to feel heard. Whether it's texting at 2 a.m., I'm like, hey, if it's on your mind, text me. I might not respond right away because I'm sleeping or I have kids, but it is on my phone. It's the first thing I'm going to respond to as soon as I can. And knowing that, like, I will be glued to my phone most of the time and respond very quickly. You just want to make sure that they feel heard when they need it. Whether it's the hard time, the good time. And I also just moved too, so being able to relate to them and say, like, I know that it sucks moving. Like, I make people do it for a living, but it's going to be worth it in the end. Like, we have to get over these hurdles. You have to put all those boxes in storage. You have to pick up X, Y, and Z, or put your cat in the I don't know, where do you put a cat? A boarding thing. Get it out of the house so your house shows better.
Right.
It's going to be an emotional journey, but I've been there. We've all been there. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Love it. Let's talk about where does your business come from now, different from where it came from maybe 5 years ago or when you were first getting started?
When I was first getting started, I joined a team and they did a lot of Zillow leads. I hated being glued to my phone just to pick up and it be someone who wasn't qualified and was not ready to buy, or just running me out to houses I didn't want to be at. Now it's 100% sphere referral past clients. And so, yeah, it's a much better way, I think, to live, because you're working with people who you want to work with and you know, and they know and like you. So.
And Zillow doesn't take 48%.
Yeah, and I make way more money.
Yeah.
Heather, what about you? You said 2010 you got started.
2010, I got started when the market was, in the toilet. And I always say I sort of fell backwards into real estate, right? We were moving from Cleveland Heights to Chagrin, or that was sort of the plan. And I was looking at houses and going to open houses, and I would ask, different realtors a bunch of questions and would maybe get some answers, maybe wouldn't. So we were driving home from Florida with the kids, and I was like, I wonder what it takes to get your license. Because if I had my own license, then I could get in the MLS, I could answer my own questions, and I could be my own agent, and I could do things the way I want to do them. And so I was like, oh, you go to Hondros, you take these classes, you blah, blah, blah. So that's what I did. And my plan was to just basically do it for us. I was like, okay, classes are $1,200, right? I'll make this commission from selling. I'll make this commission. I had it all figured out. And I remember I went in the Cleveland Heights Howard Hanna office, and I was like, all right, what is the least amount of work you need out of me and you won't get mad at me? Because that's what I'm going to do. Really, really good marketing for myself. Yeah, really good at that. And he's like, well, I want you to go to broker's tours and the meeting on Tuesday and maybe do one open house a month. I'm like, all right, I could do that. I was like, my husband's got his own business. He works all the time. I have a 3-year-old. I have a 5-year-old. Like, I don't have time for this real estate nonsense. And then one of my friends was like, well, fascinating, but we're moving and you need to sell our house in Shaker, which was on Coventry, a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath, like the quintessential Shaker house. And she's like, yeah, you need to sell this. I was like, okay, I guess I'll, and then it was like, we ended up having to rent it. So then and then the people I rented it to ended up buying something else for me, and it just kind of built from there. And I did a lot of rental business then, because that was, people were upside down on their mortgages. And so that, a doc would have to move, but they'd not have enough equity, so they'd have to rent it for 2 years. And so I ran a lot of other agents, more established agents' leads on rentals, rented people houses, and then a year or two later they'd call and say, okay, now we're ready to buy, a 350 house or whatever. And it just kind of
and
grew
now
from
it's
there.
all referral.
And now it's
clients.
mostly referrals. Yeah, I just was reading, there was some NAR report that was, they were basically saying, where you should put your marketing dollars, because 46% of people's business on average comes from previous clients, and 44% comes from, referrals from previous clients. So what does that tell you, and how to build your business? So I think as you, get more experience and deal with more people, that's the natural way that it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Annalie, for you, when you first got into the business, where'd your business come from and where is it coming from now?
My business comes from pretty much the same place it came from in the beginning. My social life, my sphere, and referrals. I will caveat just saying, we've all heard the expression list to last. I would say in the past 3 to 4 years, my personal business, not my team, but what I'm personally working on, has shifted to primarily listings. And what I've noticed through that process is every listing is a satellite, and depending on the strategy in that area, maybe I get my listing under contract right away. In some areas where I'm trying to pick up sellers, I'm going to run that sold rider over to the sign right away and make sure the neighbors see that this one was sold quickly. Now, in an area where I might be trying to cultivate more buyer leads, maybe even though it's under contract, I don't put the sold rider on and I let people call me and say, hey, what's up with this house? And then that's a great resource for buyer leads. Obviously, there's a lot of mixed feelings out there about the open house scene and whether that's valuable or not, or whether it sells the home or just is a lead resource. But I think it's a great lead resource. And I think for those of you who are starting out, if you have the time to do it, that's a great way to build your business. Also, a lot of mega agents have built their business on the back of rentals. So, I think bringing big energy, putting in the work, the agents who are sitting back and waiting for the business fish to jump in the boat are going to go hungry. I think you have to get out there and pound the pavement.
Love it.
Going off of the open houses, I actually had another agent's client called me yesterday. It's not just about the experience of your clients, but for a listing of mine, the client called me.
The buyer and you're the listing agent?
Yes, called me and complimented everything within the home. She goes, the other agent is my girl, but I wanted to let you know I was so impressed with how your marketing and the setup in the home was. And so I feel like making sure that you're not only coming off great to your clients, but to everyone else. It's about the experience in your listings or the experience that you're giving showing a home. You have to make sure that it's one step further. Whether you're asking for a referral or not, that person is going to remember that marketing, maybe mention it to someone else, and then maybe they won't use their agent, they'll use me. So.
All right, let's do one last question, then we'll see if anybody from the audience has questions for you. What is one thing that someone in this room could start doing Monday that would change how clients feel about them? Anna Lee, you want to start?
I think sending personal thank you notes after a closing is a really classy touch. I think, obviously getting snail mail that isn't a bill is kind of fun, especially when you've had a successful situation and you're excited. So I think that's a good thing. But there was a quote, I can't remember who said it, but it was something like, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. I think just, making your bed every morning in the physical sense and in the general philosophical sense. Make sure you are really crossing your T's and dotting your I's with everything that you do. Bring big energy and big heart. If you have a servant's heart, then you're in the right place.
Heather, one thing that people could start doing on Monday?
Well, I mean, it's hard to know because I don't know what people do, but I may already be doing it. But I guess one takeaway I got from a client that this has been we went to college together. I've known her forever. But what she said to me was, she said, I think your secret sauce is your relationships, not just with your clients, but with the other agents. So we went to see a number of houses where the agent, listing agent might have been there or what have you. And, she's like, I was watching and I can see how you respond to them, how they respond to you. And that sets a tone for how your transaction is going to go. How that agent, I've won out on multiples a number of times, and the listing agent had said, I knew if I was working with you, we'd get it done. Where I wasn't as sure with the, other shall be nameless agent, that we were going to get to the finish line, but I know we've worked together, or I just know you, and I know how you deal and how you work with your clients, that, so it's not just how you're treating your clients, it's, how you're treating each other, because, clients come and go, but we're all, going to be working together for a long time.
Yeah, big agree. Be nice to all the other agents you work with.
Yeah.
It's way more fun when everyone's nice.
Yeah, and never say, I'm sure you've had people say to you, like, oh, what do you think of so-and-so? The answer is always, they're a great agent. Or, or I mean, maybe I don't know them. I don't know them yet, but, I'm sure I will. But yeah, never trash another agent.
100%. Yeah. Well, and also like we all work in different areas. So if I'm selling a house in Shaker or Cleveland Heights and I'm like, hey, I don't have a contractor for that, but I have a connection.
Right.
So it is those relationships.
Exactly. Or you need to find out about things that maybe aren't on the market yet, or what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
You want those to build those relationships.
Absolutely. I mean, I was going to do just like a basic, be honest with yourself and figure out like who you are, so then you can build your business that way. But I think it's more of figuring out who you are, how you operate, and how you want to operate, and then finding the clients that kind of work within that and having that conversation beforehand of how do you want this communication and this relationship to go.
Love it. Well, this has been incredible. Let's, if you guys have a couple more minutes, let's see if anybody from the audience has a question.
I do. We talked about it just a little bit. I feel like there's so many times where I'm at an event or like out at dinner, and everybody wants to talk about real estate.
Mhm.
It's not a hard topic to bring up.
Yeah.
But I've sat across so many people that say, I bought a house 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh, who's your agent? And they say, I don't know, but she was really nice. Or, I don't know, but she was really great. And I feel like with AI and a lot of like CRM systems, it's a lot easier to systematize your follow-up. But how do you make sure that you're not that agent where your previous client is sitting somewhere in front of somebody else, not remembering who you are?
Be weird.
Yeah, be weird. Be memorable, right? Yeah.
Be memorable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell jokes. Yeah.
Yeah. And have that connection, because if you do really make a real connection, a real trust, they're not going to, I've had clients like, talking about building your business on rentals. My very first contract, I remember it was so dog-eared, like writing this contract for a rental, it was like $1,200 a month or something like that in Cleveland Heights. But he was a trombone player at Cleveland Institute of Music. And I didn't really, I maybe sent him an email here or there, checked in with him, but I didn't like stay in constant communication or what have you. But like 6 years later, he was getting married to another trombonist and called me. I sold him a house. And then 3 years later, they both went to some orchestra in Florida and I sold their house. So it's, just making sure, you're there and you pick up the phone. When they do call you, that you call them back right away. Yeah.
I think it's remembering little things about each client too, whether it is within a CRM or your like notes app or within the like client contact card. Remember that they play the trombone or within a certain amount of time they wanted to do X, Y, and Z. A lot of times I'll like pass a house that I've sold and I text a client like, hey, was just in your neighborhood, like wanted to say hi.
Yeah, your landscaping looks amazing.
Yeah,
I do that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you truly don't even have to like drive by it. They don't know, right? Like they don't know where you are.
I'm so honest.
No, but I mean, I only do it, but
starting to unravel.
Right. I've seen people or I've heard people that they see a house pop up down the street from past clients and they're like, hey, saw this house like was just listed. You've lived there for like 5 years. Like, I wonder if they're going to move soon. They text it over to their clients and just be like, did you see this popped up in your neighborhood? Like, what do you think of it?
Right.
Like, let's find you new neighbors. Do you know anyone who might want
I've
to?
had some clients go as far as to repost the listing and say, who wants to be my neighbor?
Yeah.
This is something. So, I mean, if you do engage with those past clients in that same area, like, I'm going to have a new neighbor for you to meet soon, or, whatever, they might feel a little bit of ownership of that as well, especially with their connection with you, and then share it.
I've also, within actually the last week, there was 2 houses within Hudson on the same street that listed, and I had multiple people be like, what do you know about this? Like, I want to know the details of it. So like being the person that like people are sending you houses so they can get information from you so then they can share it. They're like, oh, I'm texting my friend Mandi right now to see if I can find more information. So like they're your little like
and sometimes
feelers.
it's just to be nosy.
Yes, right.
Well,
but for sure, I'm
being
nosy
able,
too.
being able to answer
I
the
wanna know.
question, right? It's like, yes, I have a lot of very nosy friends.
We'll do one more question and then we'll wrap up. Go ahead,
Hi,
please.
first I want to say thank you. You've been all so helpful. I'm a student with Hondros, so
Oh.
I'm like the baby.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, sponge.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Welcome to the circus. Yeah.
Question to you all would be, I've been hearing, when you start out, you should do a team, or some people's like, no, you just need great training and you can be individual. What is your take between a new agent being on a team versus being individual? Like in the first 2 years to really have a good foundation to soar?
I think it truly depends on the person. The person, their personality, the environment they're in, and what they're looking to get out of it. As long as you know what your goals are and you either have a plan by yourself or mentorship or within a team, I think it's sitting down and figuring out what your goals are. So it depends.
But you do need somebody who's experienced to touch base with, whether it's within a team or it's a more experienced agent. Like when I started, my manager, matched me up with a more experienced agent, Betsy Andrews, who's since retired, but, most people around knew her. She knew the market, and she was very generous with her information and time. And any rental, she didn't want to run anybody on a rental. She's like, here you go. So, and then I could ask her questions, and, and my manager, like, did I fill this out right? Yeah.
I agree with the point about understanding what your goals are. I think going into it with the expectation of, are you doing it full-time? Are you doing it part-time? How quickly would you like to accelerate, your knowledge and be like, a little bit more self-sufficient with your paperwork at that point, or what your goals are, and, finding a mentor, whether it's a team leader or just a really fantastic agent that's at your brokerage who's willing to mentor you a little bit. Perhaps you can learn from them. Sometimes there's an agent who is on the way out, who is looking to give their cast-offs to someone, and being willing to take the stuff that maybe people aren't jumping on as quickly and just get in there. And some of the most complex deals you'll find are the best learning experiences. So even if it seems like, here we go, this is going to be nuts, get in there and figure it out and problem solve, and just, make sure that you're clear on, where you're going, and you have, a way to get there and a plan. And if you don't, then maybe shift, pivot, align.
Well, and I would say it's a little different now, but than it was when I started. I mean, people were in the office more. I think, since COVID, people aren't in the office as much, but I spent a lot of time just hanging out and listening and doing floor time. And, it's amazing what you pick up on, or what you hear, or what people will share with you if you're just there,
True.
So.
When people used to hang out in office.
Yes, yeah, it's a little harder now, but if you have, whatever office you align with, if they have a call, at least go to the meetings, right? And be there as much as you can to, you'll get a lot by osmosis.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, this was incredible. Really appreciate all three of you.
Thank you.
Give them a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Of
thank
course.
you.
This is amazing.